All right, hello. My name is John Otto. I'm a volunteer at Guilford Community Television, and today we're having a special celebration. It's May 20th, and we're down here at the Guilford Town Marina celebrating the remake of the Grass Island. Is it the Grass Island Shack? Is that the
Grass Island
proper
Shack.
name?
Yep.
So this is a big project that John Markowski took on, and I have his scout leader, Ollie Bishop, here with me. And I just wanted to chat with him for a few minutes. We're going to be filming the dedication of this, or the ribbon cutting, I think is the right way to say it. So, John, I'll start with you. This was a
Sure.
pretty ambitious project. I know that the shack was in terrible disrepair, about to fall down, and you decided to take this on for some reason. So, why such an ambitious project?
Um, I like to challenge myself and take on large projects. It was back in 2015, late 2015. I was looking for an Eagle Scout project, and that was around the time that the fence went up, and the community was concerned about what was going to happen. Was the shack going to be torn down? Was it going to be fixed? And it was a perfect opportunity for an Eagle Scout project, and I went and met with our town officials at town hall and asked them, if it would be possible to restore the Grass Island Shack as an Eagle Scout project, and they were thrilled. There was no money in the town budget
Yeah, I
to
would think
save
this
the
was all
shack.
on you to take this on, huh?
Right. So we started, right after I got the go ahead from them, started with fundraising, and then once we got warmer weather, we started with the rebuild.
Yeah. So, you as a scout master, this was an ambitious project for him, and did you
Well,
try to talk him out of it, or?
absolutely not. It's the other way around. Back in 2015, when this actually happened, I actually challenged John to taking on this project, and I knew at the time that he'd be a perfect representative to do it. And it didn't go without confrontation. We brought it in front of the troop committee, and they thought it was a little bit too ambitious, and so we had a little bit of obstacle there. But moving forward, it got approved, and we John just has done just a phenomenal job. An average Eagle Scout project takes approximately 100 service hours. This project entailed over 2,000 service hours and $28,000 he raised and actually to renovate this. You can't see it now. At the time, the shack was leaning pretty good. It was ready to
Oh, yeah,
collapse.
I remember it. It was
And
they had it fenced off because it was dangerous to be there.
right, and it's the other thing that John actually found out in this process was it's the second most painted or photographed building on the East Coast. So it has huge historical significance to the town of Guilford, and I never had any doubt in my mind whatsoever that John would get this project done. Um,
Yeah.
he just has done an outstanding job. I've been involved in scouting for 30 plus years, and I can honestly say in our council, this is the largest Eagle Scout project undertaking for anyone.
And
But,
it's a great gift to Guilford. So, I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure most of the community does, because you had good support. Were able to raise a lot of money. This was a pretty expensive project. I think you mentioned $28,000.
Yep.
But you also had significant sponsors with the roofing and things of that nature. You want to comment about them?
Sure. So the roof was donated. The material was donated by ABC Supply in West Haven, and the labor for the roof was all donated by E&H Restoration right here in Guilford. Um, I reached out to several businesses that made large donations, along with organizations. The Guilford Foundation did a matching grant up to 10,000, and there's also going to be a fund at the Guilford Foundation for maintenance going forward. The Guilford Mooring was a big help. They held several, we called them shack nights, down at the restaurant, where they donated a percentage of all their proceeds to the project, and so we had a lot of help.
Yeah, that was
It
wonderful. And you
certainly
got a lot of
couldn't have done
volunteer
it.
help
Yep.
to come out and help you actually do all that construction.
Yep, we had close to 50 volunteers throughout the entire project.
And it took a long time.
Yep, it was about 12 work parties that we had volunteers at, and in addition to that, we did have professional contractors come out to do some of the framing work to speed the project up.
well, the other amazing thing is everything was transported across the river. All the debris from the structure that we took out of there all came back. There's not enough said about what John did behind the scenes of organizing individuals, organizing businesses, setting up a GoFundMe page in order to raise the funds. His social skills and marketing skills definitely helped here. And I do have to plug, his dad's a builder, so it was just a perfect fit, and he was definitely the right scout for the job. And like I said, I never had any doubt that John would complete this project, and it's actually been an honor and a pleasure to work with him. Being an Eagle Scout advisor, it's very, very hard not to actually put a lot into it, and to watch a young scout organize this and show leadership skills and responsibility, it's just a really, really neat thing to be a part of.
That was a wonderful thing. You just want to comment briefly, and then I want to take a whole lot more of your time, just on the history of the shack, because I'm sure you did a lot of research on that. And this was originally some sort of summer cottage that
Sure.
a family owned
It was
back in 1923 or something like that.
around that time. The Grass Island Shack was originally out on the other end of the island, and it was a summer cottage for the Monroe family in town. And they were out there for a few years before there was a fire at the cottage. And so when they decided to rebuild after that fire, they moved it back to its current location, I believe. And they used the cottage for several years after that, and eventually decided, they were done with the summer cottage life, and so they sold it to the town of Guilford. And it sat for years, becoming a town park and town landmark. And around 1996, I believe, the shack needed repairs. It hadn't been touched for all those years. So the Worley family came forward and did a project similar to what I did, as far as holding fundraisers, raising funds, and then actually doing work on the shack, replacing the roof, some of the pillars to the foundation, and some other pieces. And a few years after that, there was some more maintenance that needed to be done, and before the Worley family was able to do that rebuild, Mr. Dick Worley, who was really the head of everything, had passed away, and so that kind of ended that whole.
So then it sort of sat there ever
Right.
since.
And then it sat
Because
for
this
years.
had nothing to do with town maintenance and town funding.
No.
As you mentioned, this was entirely put on you. You decided to do that. It's a wonderful thing. And we're going to look at it later on, and it's just sort of ironic in a backdrop here. This, you mentioned, it's one of the most painted structures, and the other is, I think, of some sort of lobster hut up in
Maine.
Up in Maine.
Absolutely.
Because I think seen about 2 million pictures of Grass Island. It's a beautiful structure, and it came out beautifully. But there have been some issues. I think there was some vandalism after you did the work, and that's pretty disheartening.
It was disheartening. I mean, as we were doing the work on the shack, I expected that at some point there would be vandalism, just because of its discrete location.
But you're able to get in and repair that, and hopefully it
Yep.
will not be touched again.
Yeah, we were able to repair it. The town's facility department took care of the repairs. And we did have that fund set up for future maintenance, so we were able to cover that. And we did notify town officials, the police department, so they're all aware of it and keeping a closer eye on the shack now.
Well, good. And in the end, it turns out to be a beautiful project, a beautiful rebuild of this iconic structure. So with that, we're going to film the ceremony and what do you call it, ribbon cutting?
Absolutely.
For this event in celebration of you and your work. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful,
Thank you.
and thank you.
Thanks, John.
15, the shack had come in disrepair, and the town fenced it off, and it was looking like it was going to get torn down. So at that time, I challenged John Markowski to rebuild this structure. We wrote up an Eagle Scout project proposal. we presented it to our troop committee. And the troop committee was a little taken back. They thought that this was just way too big of a project for one scout to undertake. I assured them at the time that John would get this done. Okay, so we got approval for the project. John went out, he started a GoFundMe page. He raised $28,000. And of course, there's always opposition. We spoke with several architects. They wanted us to take federal money, which would have meant that they would have had a say in the whole thing. We put the nix on that. Mr. Mazza and the facilities people from the town of Guilford, totally supportive of the whole thing, and we moved forward. I've been a scoutmaster or a scouter for over 35 years. In that 35 years, I've had 30 plus boys attain the rank of Eagle Scout. An average Eagle Scout project is 100 hours. This project was 2,000 hours. Give John a round of applause. So John was actually drafted into this whole thing. You know, it's sort of like, you know, you raise your right hand and you take an oath and all that. But between running a Boy Scout troop, which John did, and organizing an Eagle Scout project to this magnitude, this kid has just done an incredible job. And he has a legacy now of this building. And the other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to recognize, because I'm actually the father of 4 Eagle Scouts, and I know how difficult it is to be a parent of a scout going through this leadership responsibility. So give John and Debbie Markowski a round of applause. Now, the person that's really going to get dubbed in this whole thing is John's younger brother, Joe. We have to find him a project that's of equal caliber to his brother. So I actually suggested, you know, maybe we'll rebuild the 2.5-story colonial that used to sit on Faulkner's Island and, you know, maybe do something there. But all kidding aside, I'm super proud of John, and he is truly one of my Eagle Scouts, and I will always be his scoutmaster. I will always be his friend. Thank you very much. And I'd like to introduce Sean Scanlon. He's got a few words to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be here today to celebrate John and his accomplishment, which is amazing. And my personal profile picture on Facebook and Twitter is me standing with that in the background. And I was thinking about that driving over here, of how many people have taken a picture of themselves with that in the background. I grew up in this town, and I'm so proud to be a Guilfordite, and that is one of the biggest landmarks that we have. And from now on, because of the hard work that John put in, that will continue to be a landmark for future generations of Guilford people. And for that, we owe him a huge round of applause. So I will have a chance to celebrate John in a few months at his Court of Honor, which Joe and I go to for all the scouts that become Eagle Scouts. But I did want to get him something, along with Senator Kennedy and Representative Candelora, from the state of Connecticut to congratulate him on this work, and it's an official citation. I'll just read it very quickly. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to John Markowski in recognition of establishing the Save the Shack project. You led a successful fundraising campaign to preserve the Grass Island Shack, and you and all who were associated with this wonderful project deserve the highest praise and admiration for all your hard work and determination. Congratulations. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. 20th day of May, 2017, signed at the state capitol by the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, and the Secretary of State. John, you really have done a wonderful job, and we are very proud of you, so thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Joe Mazza, soon to be private citizen. About almost 2 years ago, our facilities manager, Steve Nightoff, came to me and said, I've got some bad news about that shack on Grass Island. We're going to have to cordon it off because it's very, very dangerous. And that word spread like wildfire, and it became an article in our local paper, the Courier. And I guess about a week or two later, I received an email from this young man saying that he wanted to meet with me to possibly restore the shack as his Eagle Scout project. And I read the email and I said, this kid is crazy. But all due respect, John, I thought you were. So I invited him to my office, and he came to visit me with his dad, and we talked about the project. And I realized he was serious. And like Representative Scanlon said, him and I have been to many, many Eagle Scout Courts of Honor. And these young men do quite a number of projects, and really, really tremendous projects. But this one, I couldn't believe that this young man was going to tackle that building out there. So we said, okay, John, if you're serious. And then he brought in his scoutmaster, Mr. Bishop. And we met with our facilities manager and with Rick Maynard, because his department is in charge of that piece of property out there. And then they brought in their architect and presented the plans, and then the project began. And John said that, well, I have to raise some money. Now, if you're not familiar with an Eagle Scout project, and I've become very familiar in my 7.5 years as first selectman, part of the project is, beside the planning, is to raise the funds. And you heard Mr. Bishop say that this young man raised $28,000. John, maybe you should take a, think about going on the Board of Finance, because right now we could use you, all right? So, Matt, you hear that? Where is Matt? So he raised $28,000, and I think the Rotary contribute. Where you are, Bob? Okay. First $1,000. So that's a hand for the Rotary. And then the Guilford Foundation, which Liza's going to talk about, said, well, we want to be on board, and was going to match dollar for dollar. And then the project picked up steam. But we're here today because this fine young man took on such an enormous project, raised the funds, designed the restoration, met with the architects, organized the work parties, worked with our Marina Commission and the Dock Master on weekends to get the materials out there. You know, you just can't walk out there. You have to transport the volunteers. You have to transport the material by boat. So it's quite an enormous project. So in recognition, John, for your outstanding accomplishment, I want to present you with this certificate of appreciation. Oh, and by the way, Joe, your brother, we're going to look for a town building for you to restore. But John, come on up. I have a certificate of appreciation. The citizens of Guilford deeply appreciate the efforts of John Markowski for the selection of the restoration of the Grass Island Shack for his Eagle Scout service project. In recognition of his efforts, the town is pleased to award him the certificate with the thanks and gratitude for his superlative work, and awarded this day of the 20th of May, 2017. Congratulations, son.
It's always tough to go after First Selectman and Representative Scanlon, but I'll try. I'll do my best. I do want to acknowledge and talk about John's amazing work. I think it's important to recognize that the Shack has been around for a long, long time. And it's been wonderfully appreciated, and now, thanks to John's hard work, will be appreciated hopefully forever, and the Guilford Foundation is hopefully going to have a piece of that. But I want to point out that the Shack was only able to come this far to John through the work of Carol Worley and her husband, Richard Worley. 25 years ago, I think it's important to mention, 18 years ago, that's it? Listen, I don't know where the time is going. So the Worleys also 18 years ago did an amazing job to start with the renovation that then, since then, continued to dilapidate until John was able, with his amazing work, to do that. So I want to talk a little bit about, so thank you. I'm glad you're here, Carol, and in honor of your late husband, Richard. It was a wonderful job that you did. And now John has taken that mantle. And the Guilford Foundation has come in to try to make sure that funds and resources will be available to support the Shack forever, so that Guilford will have the resources we need to be able to support it forever. Thanks. At this time, I want to point out we have two board members here, Helen Rizzo and Christine Fafiano, so thank you for coming and for supporting this project. Our intent, Joe was right. We heard that this was happening and we wanted to get right involved. And our commitment to John was to do two things. One was to help him raise the resources he needed for the funds. So we offered a $10,000 match, dollar for every dollar that he raised. So we really wanted to help him get community support for this effort, which he clearly did. The second is that once the project was over, we wanted to ensure that we had a permanent legacy fund at the Guilford Foundation that would support any restoration, any maintenance going forward. And there are people already on the Grass Island Shack right now enjoying it, so we know that there probably will need to be some repairs going forward forever, which is great. So, and when the next Markowski comes forward and finds that building, you can come and talk to us too. We'll be glad to help you out too. You can come. Yeah. No pressure. So, it's our great honor. We were thrilled to be involved. We were so impressed with John and his team and the support that he had from the Scouts. It was an honor to be involved with it. We're happy to do it. And we're just thrilled to be a tiny part of this amazing work that you've done, John. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Rick Maynard, who we will actually be writing the checks to. So that will be really fun. And I don't have a certificate, just my undying appreciation. So thank you.
What a great day, isn't it? Not only because it's nice weather-wise, but celebrating the great work that John did. John is such a mature young man. And when he first came to the, to Joe Mazza, but then he, because it's considered town park property, he had to come to the Parks and Recreation Commission also to get input and explain what he wanted to do. But he's so mature. In the 2,000 hours that he spent on that, he started when he was 4 years old. And he got it done over all those years. And John, nice job. And by the way, I think the last time I was out there, I noticed Sean Scanlon's initials are in one of the posts there. It said 2003 and with a heart with somebody, I don't know who it was, but Megan something, I don't know. But anyway, what a wonderful job. But just a couple comments about the Shack. That little iconic Guilford building has withstood major storms. You think of Irene and Sandy, the tropical storms that hit not too long ago. There were houses on Circle Beach Road that were toppled over. That thing was standing. Granted, it tilted a bit, which John fixed, but there's something special about that little Grass Island Shack. And do you know, I had heard that it's the second most painted landscape in New England. Artists love that thing. In the photographs, Sean mentioned he has pictures of himself there, and artists come from all over to paint that. It's the iconic nature of it, I guess. But the most painted one is a little lobster shack somewhere in Maine. But this is the second most artistic. In fact, what's behind us right here, the Showmobile. Brendan Laughlin did this for us a number of years ago as a volunteer. He did it about 40 hours of work this took for him to paint this back at the stage at no cost. And it does need some renovations. It's starting to chip and peel a little bit, so I don't know if we can tap into the Grass Island money to help with that, but we'll get Brendan back to touch it up a little bit. But again, John, what a wonderful job you did. We think not only the $28,000 you raised to help build it, as Liza mentioned and others, that there's money there for a long time, and so that will continue to be here for many, many years with the renovations that may need to get done in the future for future artists and future people of Guilford to just come and enjoy that beautiful site. John, thank you again from the Parks and Recreation Commission. Let's have Ollie Bishop come back up.
John asked me to recognize some people here today that were intricate parts of this whole process. And you know, this couldn't have been done without the support of everybody that worked on it, behind the scenes, giving money. There's a lot of, you know, there was some big donations, but there was a lot of $25 and $50 and $100 donations from people all over the town that didn't want to see this fall apart. So if you're here, I'd like you to come up and be recognized. I'll read off a list of people, and if you're here or you want to come up and represent somebody, that's okay too. John has a small token of appreciation for you. So Michael Malatesta, Joe Malatesta, Oscar Scott, Calder Scott, Michael Scott, G. Henny Penamarita. Don't slight me if I pronounce your name wrong. Dean Mitchell, Mark McCowiak, Cliff McCowiak, Sarah Shrewsbury, Michael Rogers, Caleb Rogers, Ron DiMartino, Ryan Babek, Vincent Babek, George Brocksieper. I know you're here, George. Get up here. Frank Gregory, Rafe Graham, Bev Beckett, Max Gutierrez, John Otto, Tim Wheel, Karen Wheel, Roman Shaligan, Ed Shaligan, Christine Greco, Dennis Constantine, Chris Anderhagen, Oscar Echeverria, Dave Milano, Alex Milano, Zach Milano, Steve O'Connor, Scoutmaster Steve O'Connor, Jack Grenier, Adam Rady, Rob Markowski, Joe Markowski, John Markowski, Jack Kramer, Bill Kramer, Rick Maynard, Steve Neerdorf, Luca Spinella, Pete Spinella, Eric Forsilius. And if for whatever reason your name wasn't on this list and you were a part, please come up. Don't be shy, please come up. Okay, now I want to turn this over to, he's actually an Eagle Scout. He passes Eagle Scout Board of Review, so it's Eagle Scout John Markowski.
Good afternoon. So in addition to the list that was just read off, we had a few people who were really key to getting the project complete. They attended every work party. They were here from early in the morning till sunset when it was getting dark out. They helped with fundraising. They helped with the rebuild. So when I call your name, if you could come up, please. Joe Mazza, Rod McLean, John Vanacore, Rich Meyer, Ollie Bishop, Mike Greco, Bob Markowski, Debbie Markowski, Mike Helsky, Mike Romay, and Kara Worley. So these are cedar pieces from the foundation of the shack, and this is the foundation of the project right here.
I'll tell you what, I better go.
Yeah, he drove the boat.
I called your name.
Thank you. So good.
So that'll be the end of the ceremony. Just a few quick announcements. We will have, until around 4 o'clock, we'll have a boat shuttle leaving from the boat launch down over there to take you over to the shack so you could see it up close and climb around on it. We also have the Guilford mooring over here with lobster rolls and some other tasty treats. And we have a few local artists who have come down with their Grass Island Shack artwork. We also have the Grass Island Shack tent set up here where you could learn about the project and our efforts for future maintenance. Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks everyone who volunteered or donated and helped make the project so successful. Thank you.
You want to tie up or? Probably just hold on. I can do 9 at a time.
Okay, so here's a boat military souls, the brave souls, heading over to the island. You get a close-up look at it.
It was on the news and everything. They saved the guy. So they drug him out of the car. They put the car in a trailer. So it's up on.
Remember we used to come back all the time.
Well, everybody that grew up in Guilford has jumped off that roof. I mean, literally.
I'm recording this.
Whatever. The statute of limitations out on that.
Because how often do guys come out here in sport jackets?
How often what?
How often do they come out in sport jackets?
Oh yeah, not very often. Joe, I should have got one of Joe's outfit here. Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah, no, this is not much to see. This is it.
Thank you. I'll show you when we're back. Okay, let's go outside.
With me and the boat. I think we're gonna have a better boat. I think we're gonna get really wow.
Not all the way up.
Now I was trying to get to the roof.
There's some.
I'm taking his totem chef when we leave, because he's got a knife open and I'm within arm's length of him. So
We only got one shot
This is
though.
it. There you go.
3, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right.
Good job. High five.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Great job done.
Okay, I'm gonna take the next boat back. I gotta run.
Hey, John.
One more look at the shack from this angle. And we'll do a quick pan back to the marina. That'll be our program. Tremendous day. Congratulations, John Markowski, and thank you on behalf of the community.